Good morning, everyone. Huh. I thought I was doing a different project, and so I had different supplies, and I'm like, oh yeah, I was gonna do the flower pots today. So I had to reset my project plan and find all the necessary supplies. So we'll give everyone a few minutes to get here, and I will finish getting my stuff set up. Okay. So normally we don't need very many supplies to do what we're doing. So I didn't have all my yarns, but I think I do have them now. Where did I? Oh, there it is. All right, so at least we have our little banner in case we get raided. We can add to that. And we have our potion bottles. If we get subs, we can make some more potion bottles to add to our collection. Because what castle doesn't need some potions? All right. Plus, potions make the magic happen, so that seems appropriate. Let me make sure the music's not too loud. All right. So, to make our crochet heart flower pots, and I couldn't find my prototype. That was the one thing I was looking for and couldn't find. So I guess we will just wing it. But I thought I'd already brought it up here. That's why I can't find it. Either way, the picture of it is. Let's find my little picture. Nope, that's not it. Let me go get the right picture for it, and then we'll be good to go. Sorry, everyone. Usually I'm a little more ready to roll. Where did my music go? Well, the music might come back in a minute. Who knows? Okay, so here's our project for today. Okay, and so we have our little critter information, and we have our Discord link, and then I need to link you guys to this pattern so you can play along. Really, cats? Let's not fight in the doorway. Always something. All right, so we got our picture. Now we just need our pattern. Pattern. This is what happens when you have to cancel a stream that you think you were going to do this in, and then you forgot you were going to do it all. And so here's today, and here we are, and I have chaos. All right, here is our pattern. And it is a free pattern on my Patreon. You may have to sign up for the free membership to get to it. If that's a problem, just let me know and I'll find another way to send it. I just like to kind of keep them. I try and keep the master copy in one place. That way I know where it is if I need to update it. So, all right. So there's today's plan. And we have the pattern, and I need to pin that. I did pin it. Okay. All right. So I think we're ready to get started. All right. So this flower pot, as you can see from the picture there, it has several parts. It's not really complicated, or it's not really hard, but it can be a little complicated to create. So the main thing is there's a heart amigurumi on the top. So it's just a three-dimensional heart. But the technique used to join the two circles is a technique used in a lot of legs when you're assembling critters. So that can be a really good tip to learn. I love this for teaching because it kind of teaches a lot of intermediate crochet techniques. The stem is going to be a lollipop stick, but you could use a dowel or even a couple of pipe cleaners, probably. Just might not be as sturdy with pipe cleaners. So I just like a lollipop stick or a very thin dowel. Doesn't need to be too tall because it's going to go into the flower pot, and then the heart's going to go on top. So you'll just have the middle part system. Then we're going to add leaves to that. And we will also have a flower pot. And what's tricky about the flower pot is we add weights to it. You can use large washers. You can also use silicone pellets or weighted pellets. That's what we're going to use today. In the way we assemble the flower pot to the dirt. So this is really a no-sew pattern. So that's what's really unique about it. There's a lot of components to it, but we don't have to sew them together. So anyway, so what we need for today is a color for the heart. I'm going to use this bright pink. I don't even remember. It's a big twist yarn, I believe, but I don't remember what color it is. It might be their hot pink. Then we're going to use a brown for the dirt. This is Big Twist Toffee, I think. And then this is Big Twist Camel we're going to use for the flower pot. I think it's a nice terracotta color. And then my favorite for leaves on almost anything is this Super Saver Red Heart, which I really am not a fan of Red Heart, but this one is my salvation. It's called Green Tones, and I buy it all the time. I've used it for little sprouts for on top of headphones. I use it on my leaves on my pumpkins in the fall. I just like that the gradient is smooth yet quick, so you can get several gradient colors in a small space. So we will just go ahead and get started and get rolling on this because it's going to take a couple of hours to do this. I teach it as a 3-hour class usually, and we end up or two-part class, two-hour classes, because usually I get people started and then they go home and finish some parts, and then they come back and we do the assembly together because that is the more complicated part. So we'll see how far we get today. We might do it as a second stream to finish the assembly. But we will teach a lot of different techniques as we go because this pattern is great for like just learning a lot of more experienced beginner and early and intermediate techniques. Hello, Hack Shack. I'm sure your critter appreciates the pizza. All right, so we're going to get started with the magic circle because, you know, as one does, you could do, if you don't magic circle, you can do it another way too, but this just ensures that we don't have any gaps at the top of the circles. So I like to do a magic circle by draping the yarn across my hand, and I loop it on my fingers, making an X, and then tuck it aside. Then some people do it on top. I just do it here. I go under the first one, grab the second one, and then you grab and make a chain. And once you have that chain, it's not coming apart. So the reason you use it, the reason the magic circle works so well is you're going to work over the tail and the circle when we make our stitches in the circle. And then when we pull this tail, it's going to make the closures completely closed. It's going to make the hole completely closed. All right, so I guess I should pull up my copy of the pattern, huh? That might be useful. Then I at least don't lie to you about what we're doing, because I could probably do it from memory, but always good to have the official one. All right. All right, so we covered our ingredients. So I'm using a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook with this because I really like that for my amigurumis. Otherwise, the other materials we'll need are a yarn needle and a pair of scissors. Oh, I like to use a knee-high nylons to put the pellets in, so we'll see how that works. Oh, and I need sewing thread and a needle. I usually use that to close up the nylon, but we'll get to that when we have to. All right, so we're gonna start our magic circle and put 6 single crochets in here. Throughout most of my amigurumis, I do a yarn under. That way the stitches are closer together and the yarn doesn't show as easy. So we're gonna do 6 in here. So this yarn feels a little thicker. I'm wondering if this is one of my premieres, but maybe not. All right, so we have our 6 stitches. So we pull it closed. Before I pull it too tight, I usually start my first stitch because sometimes it's really hard to get into that stitch otherwise. So I'm going to go ahead and start my next row, which is 2 single crochets in each stitch around. And where I like to tie it off is halfway through a stitch. I will tighten this completely so that hole is completely closed, and then I tie it off. Not everybody ties them off, but I think it's a good practice because nothing worse than your project falling apart halfway through or when you get it all done. All right, so 2, 3, oops. Off to a good start so far. 4, okay, then 5. 12. Oh, let's see. I think I have one more thing I need to change. Oh well. Okay, so then the next stitch, we're just going to do a single crochet in one, then 2 single crochets in the next one. Pretty standard increases for working with single crochets. If I can count. All right, now we have 18. So that row was one single crochet in one and then an increase in the next. Music still didn't start back up. It even fixed my Spotify so that I wouldn't get ads. And it looks like it's playing. Hopefully you guys hear me all right. My mic's being a little weird too, so. Okay, so Spotify is not going to be our friend. Let's try that again. Oh, well, now it's working. Okay, well, apparently we have KK Slider-ish music. All right, so now our next two rows, we're just going to work evenly. And so to do that, I just put a stitch marker because then I don't have to count or figure out which rows I'm on. Okay. So now we just work 18 stitches around each time, but we don't have to worry about counting because our little marker will remind us. So this is the little top part of the heart. It'll start curving now that we're doing just single crochets around. If I can stop slipping out of the stitches. My cat's yelling at the birds in the background. So if you hear aliens, it's just the cat. Apparently I have K-pop KK. All right, so we're around to our last stitch here. All right, so there's a little bobble for the top of one of our heart pieces. So I'm just gonna slip stitch that and fasten it off. And we don't need a long tail because it's gonna get worked inside anyways. This is no sew. We're not gonna sew these pieces all together because that would be crazy. There's some tying involved, but most of the pieces are just crocheted together if we need to. All right, so then we're just going to do this little heart thing again. It is warm in here, so it is scrunchy time. Okay, so let's rinse and repeat. So magic circle. And tighten our ring and tie it off. And so this row was all increases. I also like that this pattern doesn't have a lot of ends to weave in because we work them into the inside of the project. All right, so that should be 12 now. 6, 8, 10, 12. Good. So we're going to increase. We're going to single crochet in one and then increase in the next one. So we'll go from 12 to 18 stitches on this row. Actually, I probably should update my stream name because I had the wrong pattern on there. Okay, this song just made me giggle a little. The picture for it's even funnier. Uh-oh, I need to hydrate. Somebody made me hydrate. And I didn't even spill it on myself that time. All right. I don't know where to... I was thinking I could update the stream, but maybe not. Maybe I have to stop it and restart it to do that. Oh well, I am still a baby streamer and don't know how to do all of that, so... Okay, well, people will find us if they find us. If not, we'll sit here making our little heart flower by ourselves. All right, so now we're at the 18 row where we'll mark it and do 2 rows of just single crochet. Popular. All right. And then when we finish these 2 rows, we'll join the 2 tops of the heart together. And that's the part that they use on a lot of crochet patterns for the legs, where you make individual legs and then join them together. And it can be really confusing. So I thought when I made this pattern up, I thought that would be one of the good uses for it, is it really does show how to assemble them. I've also used this heart pattern on one of my jester hats for the dangly bits. I made a Valentine's one and made a heart for each of the 2 tassels. Or... oh, somebody told me there's a name for the tassels on a jester hat. And I've already forgotten what it was. We had a fun discussion at social crafting this week, so and we actually did find the name for it. But it is a silly name, so I did not remember it. Okay, the KK Slider songs are fun, but I think it may melt my brain. All right, so now we're back around to our little marker. Pattern, there you are. Okay, so we did rows 1 through 5 on the first bump of the heart, and then we did a second one. So now we're going to join them together. So what we do is working through both loops. I like to just put them together like this. We're going to slip stitch a few together, I think. Yeah, slip stitch across 5. So we'll bury this into the middle of it. That way it is out of the way. So basically working through a loop in this side and our next stitch here, we're just going to slip stitch 5 times. So then we go to the next stitch here. And then a loop of this side. So you can kind of see how we're going through the 2 loops here and there. And we'll just slip stitch them together. Now we're going to here. We'll take the end out of the way. And then we'll go into that one. 3. And 4. And 5. And so when you're doing legs, a lot of times they won't slip stitch together. They will just go from one side to the other. But from here on, the process will be the same. So now we're going to work in 13 single crochets on this heart. And so we just went in this stitch. So we'll move to here. 1, 2, and I'm going to go ahead and put a stitch marker right there, just so we know where our row begins and ends. Pink stitch markers on pink project, probably not the smartest, but you know. All right, so we've joined the 2 bumps for our little heart, and now we're starting to work around the outside. So we are on our, oops, I put that on the wrong one. Okay, our second stitch. So we went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And here's 13. Then we jump across to the first stitch over here and we do 14 stitches. 1, not sure why we did. How does that make 28 stitches? I think it should have been 14 on the other side too. $14. And then we'll do 14 on this side. That'll give us 28 stitches. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. looks about right. All right, so now our heart pieces are together. So now we start decreasing. Oh, maybe not. Maybe do one row and then we start decreasing. When we decrease, we're going to decrease in the center of the heart. That way it just looks more consistent. You could do even decreases around, but I like the way it looks when I do this. So I think it's a neat effect. We'll do both of our decreases right next to each other on the next row. All right, so and again, this pattern is kind of fun because you can just make these hearts on their own. You could make them keychains. You could make them where they can dangle from your car mirror. There's just so many uses for them. So I just thought it was a fun utility pattern while it teaches some fun techniques too. So if you're just joining, the pattern should be pinned at the top. We're making my description on my Twitch stream was wrong, and unfortunately I'm new enough that I don't know how to go change it while I'm live. So we're actually making a crochet heart flower pot. You can see it in the picture on the bottom left corner there. It's a great pattern because it teaches a lot of different joining techniques and shaping, and so I thought it's a great demo pattern. I was supposed to do it last Sunday, and then I forgot I was doing it today, so here we are. All right, so now we've worked evenly around, so we have our little heart shaping up. So this row we're gonna decrease. So we're gonna do an invisible decrease here. Invisible decreases just work in the front loop of the next 2 stitches, and it makes it a lot less noticeable, that it's not as bulky. Then we're gonna single crochet 10. And then we're going to do our other 2 decreases right here in the center of this side. And if you guys would prefer I switch back to the gesture hat, just holler. I'm happy to do either one. I just had some people that really wanted this one, but they haven't shown up yet. So if you guys would prefer the hat, we can do that too. I actually made a fun gesture hat, the stained glass one that I put on the demo thing. This was the stained glass one. Turned out really fun. So if you guys would like to see something like that instead, I am flexible. So we did our 2 decreases, and now we will, oh, I see it had me place a marker, but that's okay. Because the easy way is to place a marker in the middle of the decreases on each side. Then you don't have to count the rest of the pattern because you're just going to decrease on either side of the marker. And that keeps your markers, or keeps your decreases centered. And you'll see it makes a neat little effect on the heart. All right, and now we're back to here. And then another, then we start the next row, I believe, with the decrease. Yep. So now we're basically just going to go around, and every row we're going to put 2 decreases on either side right below the point of the heart. And once we get a couple of rows, you'll start to see it forms a little bit of a pattern to it. If you've ever made socks, it's kind of, I don't know, it kind of reminds me of the effect you get when you're doing consistent decreases in a certain spot. All right, and then we'll just stitch around to the next side, and we'll do our decreases over there again. You can also experiment with adding more. You can not do that row of straight single crochets, or you can do more of them if you want to change the shape of the heart, if you want it stumpier or more elongated. You could also do a row of straight between each of these rows of decrease. There's our 2 decreases, and then we'll do our 8. KK is making me giggle today. It's like the chipmunks singing this song. Oops, I went one too many. Let's do my decrease here. All right, and then after this row, we'll add our stuffing. I like to stuff my projects at like 12 stitches around because otherwise it's too close to do much of anything. Do 2 decreases. All right. So we probably have 16 stitches here. You can see it's starting to definitely shape up. So I'm going to grab my fluff. And if you're doing a really dark color, you can use dark stuffing too. That's one way to make your amigurumi not really, not have it show, even if you stuff it firmly. So these make great gifts. I've given them to people before because they're just a cute little decoration to remind them you're thinking of them. I might do some other versions of this that are actually flowers or maybe even a piranha plant. I thought that would be kind of fun. All right. So I like to stuff it firmly, but not where so much it's going to distort the shape. So you can kind of see how our decreases being right here in the middle make the heart kind of curl in. I just kind of like that. All right, so then we're going to do 2 more rows, I think. So these should go pretty quickly because there's not a lot of stitches left. So we'll start with our decrease here. So these I go a little slower because I don't want to have any gaps because of the stuffing. It's just a little easier to get gaps in there once I have the stuffing in. Did I go too far? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, okay. So this is where my decrease goes. So there's just 4 stitches between the decreases now. And then another decrease. And then form on this side. Okay, I may have to change this. My brain is melting. I do like KK slider, but this much of it in a row may be a little much. All right, so now we just have our 2 left, so I'll add a little more stuffing here. So I do like these ergonomic hooks because you can sometimes use them to get your stuffing in there a little better. I like to use a pencil with an eraser too because the eraser makes the stuffing go in, but the slick parts of the pencil don't grab the stuffing on the way out. So, all right. And this is our last little row here. So we will decrease here. You know, if I can find the stitches. There they are. And then we'll do 2 stitches. And then 2 decreases. And our last decrease. Nope, wait, one more and then our decrease. All right, so we're going to leave this hole because once we get ready with the, once we wrap the stem, we're going to insert the stem into there before we sew it shut. So I'm just going to slip stitch here for now, and I'll leave a long tail to close the hole. So it's really a no-sew pattern, but we still have to close up holes on circles, but that's really minimal. It's not assembly sewing. All right, so there's our heart. Any questions on that so far, other than whether I should leave the stitch marker? All right. So there's our heart. So then next, we are going to move on to making the dirt. So we make the dirt before the pot because when we make the pot, we assemble it to the, we'll be assembling it. So in this one, we don't start with a magic circle because we actually want the circle in the center of the dirt to be able to add the stick into there as well. So we're just going to start with the slip knot. If you've just joined, we're making a crochet heart flower pot. My description on my stream was wrong, and unfortunately I don't know how to change it yet, so I haven't had to do that while live. I'm not sure I can. So anyways, we are making a crochet heart flower pot. So a heart with a stem and leaves in a little weighted flower pot. And so we're starting on the dirt here. And so we're going to start with it. And the pattern is pinned at the top if you want to crochet along. All right, so we're going to start with just a chain 4, and we'll slip stitch to form our ring, and chain 1. So we'll have our little hole here to put our lollipop stick once we get it ready. So there's our lollipop stick, so it'll eventually go in there. And it'll go into our heart to make our plant. All right, so in this ring, we're going to do 8 single crochets. And again, I do yarn under instead of yarn overs on my amigurumi because that keeps anything from showing through. And normally I would crochet over my tails, but it really doesn't matter on this pattern because they're all going to be inside the project. So there's our 8. So we have our little circle. 2. I'm going to go and mark our first stitch so I don't lose it later. So we'll know where our beginning of each row is. I don't normally use stitch markers, but I find on stream it's easier when I forget to count. All right, so then we're just going to increase in each stitch around here. So we'll go from 8 to 16 stitches, which is a pretty standard formula for circles with single crochet. You can either start with 6 or 8. I did 8 on this one because I wanted that bigger circle in the middle too. When I'm working with plush yarn, I always use 8 or sometimes even 10, just because it tends to make it pointy otherwise. think I'm going to switch that because it's starting to melt my brain. If you guys have any suggestions, just let me know and put on whatever music. Cat treats? Oh, but then I'll wake the sleeping dragon. Hey, Quinn, Cat Jack sends you treats. Ooh. Yeah, there you go. Don't know where Pip went. Another? I think she is very grateful. All right, so we are back around, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 1 more. So we're at 18. No, that's not right. Hold on. I can't count even with the stitch marker. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Okay, so we're at 16. So then we're going to do an single crochet and then an increase, and we'll get to 24. All right, so 24 now. So we have one more row here. And we're going to single crochet twice and then increase. So pretty much just flat circle formula. So this is the son of none other than Troy's very own Prince Hector. Know that he will grow from a boy to an avenger. One year rage, so come soon my age. You know it now, you'll have no one left to say. Say goodbye. Say goodbye. Don't make me do this! Don't make me do this! All right, so we are all the way around now. So we have our nice little circle of 32 stitches. I'm just going to slip stitch in the next one just to finish that off. And we don't need a long tail on this one because it's going to get crocheted in on the next one. So there's our little circle with our hole in the middle. All right, so then we have our dirt that will slip over this as well. So we're starting to come together there. All right, so then we're going to move on. We could do the leaves next, but I don't think that's... I guess we could go ahead and do those. Let's move to Jester Hat. All right, so the leaves work up really quickly. These ones I do leave a little bit of a tail because I want to use that to tie them onto the stem when we're done. So we're going to start with a slip knot and chain 6. Then in the second chain from the hook, we're going to single crochet. Yes. And then half double crochet twice. And this just changes the shape of the leaf by changing which stitches we do. And then we'll double crochet. And you can change up the style of the leaves on these too. It'll work with any type of leaf. I just picked something kind of simple for these. It was kind of cute and rounded. And then we're gonna, and then in the last stitch, we're going to single crochet 7 times. It's gonna make it nice and rounded. So on this one, I do want to crochet over the chain because that's an important piece to assembly because we want this tail to be at this end so we can use the 2 strings to tie it together. Probably should add a little note there about starting with a longer tail, but okay. So then we're gonna reverse what we did the first time by going double crochet here. And then 2 half double crochets. And we're still working over that tail just by holding it with our work. And then we single crochet. And then just kind of slip stitch in this first chain. Or first single crochet, I should say. All right, then I will fasten this off, leaving a little bit more of a tail. So now we have our little leaf. And I just like to tie this together here so that it doesn't, when I tie it to the plant, it doesn't pull the inside tail. And you see why I like this yarn? It gives it just a little bit of interest. So again, we're going to leave a bit of a tail, chain 6. And then we sing. And here we don't need to yarn over. And half doubles. And then a double. And our 7 single crochets. So any leaf pattern you like, you can do here. Just leave long tails so that you can tie it onto the stem. So then we'll do our double crochet. Maybe. We can find the hole there. And then 2 half double crochets. And again, this pattern should be pinned to the top. So if you've just gotten here, there's a free pattern on my Patreon you can download. And then a single crochet in the last one. And we'll slip stitch in that first one. All right, and that's our second leaf. I'm just going to tie this a little bit. Okay, so then we have our heart, our dirt, our stem-ish. We will wrap the stem with yarn too. And then there's our 2 little leaves. So now all we need to do is we need to wrap our stem with yarn. Actually, I kind of want to do it a different way this time and see if that works. I wonder if I single crochet around it instead, but I don't know. I probably should just glue it. So we have our glue gun. I just got to figure out where I'm going to plug it in. Storage box is under the desk. All right, I'm going in or under. Hopefully this doesn't trip any breakers. It is a tiny glue gun. All right. So to work on the stem, all we do is we take, again, I like the variegated yarn for this. We'll let our glue gun warm up, my disgusting little glue gun. All my good glue guns were at my crafting center where I teach, where we have our social crafting meetups, because we did fairy houses there recently. So forgot to bring those home. Yay, no breakers broke. Hack Shack would know. Should have warned you, huh? Where would the fun in that be, though? So while that warms up, I can show you guys what I made recently. I 3D printed a little liner for my little Altoid tin type thing and made an emergency crochet kit. So I have these little emergency crochet hooks. I had one that was foldable crochet hooks, but they always folded up when I worked on them. And this actually kind of works better. They actually kind of function. And it's got a couple of the most common little sizes. I think it's got 3mm, 3, 4, and 5. So that's pretty nice sizes. Then I have a tiny little pair of scissors that usually have a shield for them, but I always lose that, so it's better just to put them in a box. A couple of marking pins for assembling things or for packing in stuffing. And then I have a couple of yarn needles. I like the ones that are blunt. I really like this kind too, with a pointed end, with a bent end, because it makes it easier to assemble. Hey, no glue guns for kitties. Nope. I draw the line at glue guns for kitties. Hey. No, sorry, you can't be there today. She really likes streaming. You stay there. I'll even give you another treat. Oh, goodness, she shed it all over me. I didn't need a mouthful of food there. Hey, would you like another one? Good girl. All right. So the gluing part of this is pretty straightforward. Oh, anyways, and then I have my little stitch markers for in my little tin. But I like that I can throw this in my bag, and I'm actually having an easier time finding it than my scissors and everything else when they're loose in the bag. All right. So, oh, ads. Sorry about the ads, folks. It doesn't tell me. I thought I had it turned on to tell me, but let's see if I can find where that setting is. Hello, Lisa. Glad you could join us. Sorry for the ads. Don't know why it's not telling me when we get ads. Guess we're at an hour though, so that's at least working. I should just set myself a reminder. Well, it doesn't tell me. I mean, it should. All right, I'll have to watch the tutorial on that again, I guess. I'm a new streamer, so I'm still learning a lot of the pieces. All right, so the ad should be done, and my glue gun should be warm. So Lisa, did you do you have any questions about what we're working on, or were you here for that part? All right, so I think we're warm enough here. So basically what I want to do is put just a little bead of glue on the end here. Maybe. Yeah, there we go. Just enough to kind of hold the yarn in place. And that's going to be inside the heart, so it doesn't have to be perfect. And I don't really even have to wrap around the yarn like I'm doing. It just seemed an easier way to hold it. So basically it's just a dot of glue at one end, and then we wrap the stick. You can spin the stick or spin the yarn, whichever works best for you. I think I did it this way. Oh yeah, that goes much faster. You just want to make sure the stem's not showing. Oh, I'm glad you like it. Sorry, I tricked you guys with the jester hat intro. I forgot I was doing this one today, and then I had to rush around and get the supplies. So basically, we're doing a heart amigurumi, and we have the dirt and the leaves, and now we're wrapping the stem. And I love this red heart green tones yarn. Normally, I don't like red heart, but this one I really like how it has the gradients. It really does give it just a little more depth or interest. Yeah, you can get glue guns real cheap. They're like, this one was like $3, I think. But the only thing I don't like about this one is I have the short glue sticks. I have some really long ones that are like 12 inches. They are amazing because you don't run out of glue every 3 seconds. All right, so. All right, so we'll get down to this end. We'll put another dot of glue to finish up. Now, again, you can put more glue if you want. It doesn't really matter. This one I'll do a little bit more just to show. And you can even kind of double it up at this end because both ends are going to be inside the project. So come on. You just basically want it on there enough that it's not going to go anywhere. Usually I have little silicone fingertip. They have little thimbles like that you can use with glue guns so you can actually touch the glue and it not burn you. So anyways, so once we're done, we'll just trim that. So we're done with our green. So we have our little stem here. And now I get to decide, I think I want the lighter toward the top. So we'll put this through here. And when we do the flower pot, we'll glue that into the base. And then for here, you can put the glue on here or in the hole. And I think I like putting the glue in the hole better because then, but I don't really want to get it on the outside. So I'm just going to pipe in some glue. That should be enough. And then put my stem in there. And I just want to shove it in there as much as I can because I'll put all my needles away. I'm just going to use this to pull up the edges of this back where it was because I poked it in there too far. I think it might have gotten just a tiny bit of glue on it, so I want to make sure it's not sticking down there. All right. So you can see our stem is now in there pretty good because it's glued to the fluff basically. So now when we take our yarn needle, yeah, the glitter glue is really fun. So I'm going to leave the glue gun on for a minute. Hopefully it doesn't get too hot there because we'll need it again when we go to glue the stem into the base. So I'm just going to take my tail here and like I would do to sew my heart shut normally, I'm just going to grab my threads as I go around here as if the stem wasn't there. Yeah, I caught a little bit of the glue on the way in. That's what was causing that to be weird. And usually I just kind of grab this front loop as I go around, but it's not that picky. And then I'm going to pull it and tie it off. And basically that will, between the glue and the stitches here, that heart's going to be really solid on there. Plus the heart is, it's not real heavy because it's just stuffing in it. When I tie it off, I like to take that last loop and wrap my needle through there a few times, and I kind of pull the thread to make it close to my project. That way when I pull my needle through, it puts that knot right down at the surface. All right, and then I will take this and just kind of bury the yarn inside my heart. And there you can't really see where we attached it. All right, so we have our heart on there and we have our dirt just pushed over the stem. We could put our leaves on yet, but I'll wait until we get our pot just so we kind of know exactly where we want to put them. All right, where did my pattern go? All right, so now the flower pot. So these pieces itself work up pretty quickly, all things considered. It's really just the assembly of it is just a little, weird sometimes. So I like to show that. All right, so flower pot, we will do kind of this terracotta color. I thought that would be kind of fun. And I like that you can do these in a lot of different colors too. Yes, there is a cat. Usually she wants to sleep right here on the stream, and I can't let her do that with the glue gun. So she's um, pretending I don't exist, I think. So if you just joined, we're making a heart flower pot, and we're just getting to the point of the flower pot. And then when we finish the flower pot, we're going to be adding weights to it. So that's going to be an interesting technique to show too. All right, so for the bottom, we're going to do magic ring, magic circle. I just like to drape it around my hand and make an X. And then I go under the first one and pick up the second one. And then make my chain. And that's our little magic circle. If you haven't ever done a magic circle, just let me know. I can repeat it and do it much slower. So here we're doing 8 single crochets in our magic circle. Exactly. Yeah, she's good at that silent treatment. At least she's not yelling at me. Usually she brings me a sock and yells at me. It's not even my sock. It does help that she just ate a couple hours ago. All right, so that should be 8, and I pulled it, but not completely tight because I like to be able to get in that first stitch first. Because sometimes when I pull the magic circle too tight, it's hard to get my hook through there. So this next row, we're doing 2 single crochets in each stitch. So I like to start the second stitch, and then I'll pull my knot really tight. So really snug, and then I tie it off. Again, not everybody does that, but I have paranoias of projects unraveling. My life unravels enough. All right. So we're going to continue around till we have 16. So how is your Sunday going? Yeah, that's why I just worked the first stitch first, and then it gives me at least a little bit of grace there. 8, 10, 12. I always count my stitches a lot more on stream because I find I get a little distracted for some reason. All right, so now we're at 16. So this is the bottom of the flower pot. So we're just working flat increases. So this one will be a single crochet in the first one and then an increase. And we'll do that around. I think I'll go ahead and put a stitch marker here. Again, I don't usually use stitch markers. Usually, if anything, I just use a piece of yarn, but come on. What kit are you doing? I haven't done any kits from Xenos. Are they good? I don't usually do kits anyway, since typically I make up patterns rather than follow. I don't even like following patterns, much less kits, but I'm always curious, what are good kits I can send new crocheters to. So many of them use really thin yarn that makes it complicated for newbies. All right, so now we're at 24. All right, so that's the bottom of our flower pot already. So then what we're going to do is we're going to work in the back loop only. I didn't put this in the pattern, but I tend to like to slip stitch into that back loop of that first stitch just to kind of give it a nice finishing spot. Oh, and actually I want to do something different on this one anyways. I'm going to, this bottom row, we're actually going to do a back post crochet because I wanted to try that on this. It works fine just doing, oh yeah, definitely. If you're a beginner, kits are great. I'm just always curious, what the quality of the kit's like. I've even bought one of the Woobles kits just to try it out. I don't like how chunky they are, but I also don't like kits that have super thin yarn because I find that it just seems like it's setting up people for failure if they can't keep good tension when they're starting out. So anyways, so you can definitely do the back loop single crochets on this row, but I'm going to change it up a little bit because I want to try something different. We're going to chain one, and then I'm going to do single crochet back post. So what you do is you work around the body of the single crochet, but it should give us even more of a ridge around the bottom. So I'm going basically from the back, and we're grabbing the middle of the crochet stitch, not the loops on the top. And I'll show you what that does in a minute. I always like to have different techniques and stuff that you might not see out in the world or in the wild. And this one is one I didn't learn until probably a few years ago. And I've been crocheting 52 years. Oh, from English to Dutch. Yeah. I guess as long as it's not too expensive, it's not too disappointing. But I do worry sometimes that beginners get a kit and then just think that they don't know what they're doing. And, you know, they get frustrated that when it's really the kit. So now you can see this ridge because we're going in the back post of those stitches, what a nice 90-degree angle it gives us on this work. See how that, and so when we sit our pot, it'll be nice and flat on the bottom. If we did the back loop only, you'd get something similar, just not as rigid. So if we did just the back loop, I'll show you what that would look like. We would still get a little ridge, but not as sturdy as this one. So I'm going to just keep doing these in the back post. And on double crochets, it's easier to find the post. Single crochets are really little. So you can kind of see we're just going through, we're basically going around the post and working our single crochet. And that one got weird. Front posts are easier to find too because you can see them easier. Basically, it's like going around the body of the stitch like this. But we're doing it from the back on these ones, so it's just a little... Oh, I see what I did. Had my yarn on the wrong side of it. And if we didn't do a back loop or anything, we would still get a flower pot. It just would be rounded on the bottom. It would take longer to, you wouldn't have a nice ridge, but I do like how this is turning out. Nice crisp ridge on the bottom. Yeah, waffle stitch is a fun one. I do dishcloths with that sometimes because I like the texture that it gives. Dishcloths are a great way to practice new stitches because they're low commitment. And even if you don't like how it turns out, you still end up with a dishcloth when you're done. We made a couple when I was doing the Learn to Crochet streams earlier this month. So we did one that was a corner to corner and one that was a moss stitch. So those are some fun stitches to try too. But I host a local crochet guild and I teach some classes. So I'm hoping to kind of build my stream into teaching different techniques and stuff where we can have just a little bit more of a class. Not too rigid of a structure, but just have kind of an outline that's more, we cover some different things that you might not always find if you're just browsing YouTube. So. And this pattern, again, isn't hard, but I love that it has a couple of different techniques in it. And that we can, and the assembly is just a little complicated to write in a pattern. So I wanted to have a video, so at least I can save this VOD for later. Okay, where'd you go? All right, now we're all the way around, and hopefully I still have 24 stitches. Let's let's see, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 23. Okay, we needed one more. So now that we're all the way around, we have a nice chunky base to this, but it'll straighten up in a minute. So this next row we are gonna do, or next 3 rows, we're just gonna work evenly. So I'm just gonna go and put a little marker. Come on. Okay, so then we will just work single crochet in each stitch around for 3 rows. So that's like forever. And then we'll do a little bit of a technique at the top to give it a rim to the flower pot. And then we'll attach all the pieces and be just about done. It's actually working up a lot faster than when I teach it as a class, because usually I'm waiting on everybody to catch up to each step. And I like that this one I can kind of move ahead because we can always play it back later. And since we don't have like 50 people following along, it's not like they're all going to get lost. But I'd love your feedback. If you end up making this, definitely send me a picture. I'd love to see how it turns out. It's one of the reasons I started a Twitch channel, is when I post all my patterns out to the world, I just never really hear from them again. And this way, at least, I don't know, we build a little more relationships since it's more live. And making YouTube videos just seems just a little intimidating to make that level of professional videos, because there's just so many out there too. So I'll show what this looks like after just 1 row. We can see how nice ridgy that is. It's really thick. Let me see if I can get it right under the camera. You can kind of see it's definitely got stability to it because we did those back post crochets. Hello, Cal the Celestial Cal. Welcome. We're just working on the flower pot portion of our crochet heart flower pot. We made our heart amigurumi, and we didn't close in the end. Then we made our dirt, and then we wrapped the stick in yarn, and I have leaves to add to it yet. We put hot glue inside the heart and jammed this in there. And now we're working on the flower pot, and we're going to add weights. Let me know if you have any questions. The pattern should be linked at the top. And so I just realized I didn't turn on all my lights. No, that's not very helpful. Yeah, and I just think it's easier to talk to a person and just having the little bit of interactions just makes it a lot more personable. So anyway, so we're just working evenly around here. And, if nothing else, people can go back and watch the VODs, and I might even piece it together. So I have my Patreon. I might start releasing videos there, but I can take my Twitch videos and maybe edit them down and make them something a little more interesting. But we'll see. I do have quite a few other free patterns on my Patreon too. I think you have to join as a free member, but then you can download the free patterns I have each month. But I also think it's kind of fun because I'm working on a crochet book, and I think by interacting with people, it will help make it all better too. So, because it's not like working on it in a vacuum. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking, is just having a place to, because I've downloaded almost all of the ones I've done. I missed one. I did a Christmas Advent calendar where we did a different pattern every day, and I got a little behind on downloading my videos, and I missed one. So, but that's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world. All right. 1, 2, 1 more row. But what's cool about this pattern is you can make the flower pot different shapes. You can make the heart bigger or smaller. There's so much of this you can modify pretty easily, and the concepts still hold true. The only thing you need to make sure of is that the top row of the flower pot and the number of stitches around the dirt are the same, because when we go to join them, that will matter. Yeah, Hack Shack, I just need to find a good place to store all the videos. Well, I guess Patreon probably. I don't know if they have a limit on how many videos I can have there, you know, size wise, because they are a lot bigger. Yeah, I have one yarn I did recently that the center pull failed, so it was this cotton yarn I used for my dishcloths that we were working on, and I finally 3D printed myself a little yarn spinner. Isn't that adorable though? But yeah, there's just a couple of yarns sometimes that definitely want to be an outer pull, not an inner pull. Either that or you have so much yarn barf, you might as well have rewound it from the beginning. Yeah. Um, I ordered yarn from Hobbii, Hobbii, and one thing I was so tickled about is they put tags on their center pulls so they come out so clean and easy. Okay, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so now we're at our 24 stitches. We worked 1, 2, 3 plain rows. So now we're going to increase to 28 stitches. And basically it's just going to be a slow angle so it looks kind of like a ceramic flower pot. So since we have 24 stitches, we're gonna stitch in 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we'll increase, which will give us 7, and we do that 4 times, and that will give us an increase of 4 around. Yeah, I really liked Hobbii yarn, but I don't want to risk the tariffs right now. It's just so much, so much dumb. All right, so now we have 28 stitches around, and we're going to do 3 rows of straight 28 stitches. Just going to move my counter up. The only time I ever usually mark my yarn or mark my stitches is like if I'm going to do a bunch of just straight rows of single crochet, because then I don't have to count the rows. I can just, actually I'm going to get my yarn bowl too. I never have used yarn bowls or yarn spinners, but on stream my yarn likes to attack me, and I really don't want to wake the sleeping monster there. Yeah, at least Hobbii has started including the tariffs in the price of the yarn when you're on their website, but it's still annoying because I'm like, you know, yarn that was a lot cheaper right before them is not now. And it's just, I don't know, I'm cheap. I make a lot of stuff for free or for classes, and I just don't want to have to pay so much extra just out of, you know, our glorious leaders' bright ideas. Well, and all yarn's really getting it because not much yarn is not, especially acrylic yarns, are not really made in the U.S. They're made in Turkey and I think some's in Vietnam. So like Big Twist is made in Turkey, so I'm sure there's some tariffs on that too. It's just they just get passed on to us in different ways. And feel free to recommend music if you guys want me to switch it up. I really need to find some good non-DMCA music so I don't have to worry about it getting muted by or getting it called out. Yep, and they have. Basically, the sales aren't as good, and and we lost Joann's here, which was one of our local big nationwide craft stores, and so, it's easy to think that just there's not as many choices, so it's easier to pass on those costs because you don't have competition to keep the prices low. Oh, you can't hear the music? Okay, well, interesting, because I have playing just in my room here, so I guess this microphone's really good at noise canceling. How's that? Is music coming through now? Oh, I see. Yeah, it's probably just thinking it's background noise when I'm not talking. Smart mics for the win, right? That's a little too loud for me. All right. I think this is our last row of 28, and then we can start assembling the weights and the dirt, adding the dirt. If you're just joining in, we're working on a crochet heart flower pot. Sorry, my stream said jester hat. I'd forgotten. I'd promised to do this one. So we've made our amigurumi hearts, wrapped our stem in yarn, and then made our dirt. And we're working on the flower pot layer, which we will attach in a few minutes. And then we have our little leaves. So, yeah, exactly. I just think my microphone might be cutting out the background noise, or what it assumes is background noise. Yeah, I've tried that, but then it doesn't always come through either. I'm still a baby streamer. I've only been streaming a little over 2 months, and still got a lot to learn. But we'll get there. All right, so 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we should be at row 11. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yay! I like when a plan comes together. Okay, so this row we're going to increase to 32 stitches. Oh, I got 2 more stitches to go. And then we will attach them together. I'm playing through Spotify, but I also have Amazon Music, and I have tried splitting the audio, but then I can't hear it, so it's kind of odd because I can't tell if it's really loud on the other side. So there's our little flower pot so far. You can kind of see it's just got a slight angle to it. So we're going to crochet in 6 stitches and then do an increase this row. All right, glue gun, you stayed up. I'm just glad the cat changed her mind about invading because I worry about her with the glue gun. Usually she's more impatient once I send her away. She usually just comes back. All right, so we are all the way around. And so I don't have this in my pattern, but I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch here just so that's a little straighter across. All right, so now we're going to get all fancy with it. Now we're going to attach our dirt to our flower pot as we go, because I don't like sewing patterns together. It's just not enjoyable. So what we need to do though is put our pellets in the bottom, because we won't be able to get in there and do that later. So I don't know if you've ever used weighted pellets, but I have a bag of them somewhere. Where did I put them? Oh, there they are. I can't get it from here. Stand up. All right, so these are some poly pellets. They're made out of, I don't know. I think they're silicone. But they're weighted stuffing. But you don't want to put it in your item. Oh, polypropylene beads. So plastic beads. It has a nice little pour spout, which is nice. But you don't want to pour them directly in your project, because even though the pellets are bigger, you can kind of see they're little plastic pellets. I think we'll see how that works for you guys. You can kind of see they're just little pellets that get everywhere if you're not careful. I'll have to vacuum in here in a minute. So what I like to do is just take a knee-high nylon, and I'll usually even just cut it in half, because then I can get 2 uses out of it, because you can also stitch the bottom closed or tie a knot in the bottom and use the second half. But for this one, we're just going to use this half, and we don't need a lot, but what I like to do is just put it over the opening of my little bag of pellets. That way they don't spill everywhere. And so you just fill up enough that it fits in our little flower pot. And this may be too much, so we'll see how that works. Yeah, it's quite a bit more than I needed, so then I can just put a little bit back. And spill them on the counter, you know. All right, no kitty. Still glue gun. No kitty zone. Nope. Nope. All right, so normally I would just take a needle and thread and stitch around here, but this time I'm just going to tie it off, I think, with a knot, because that'll work too. Well, no, I guess that won't work. Anyways, we'll figure that out when we get there, because we actually want to glue the stick into it. So what we want to do is put glue on the end of our stick and jam it in there, because then it will it'll really, otherwise you don't have to use hot glue on most of this, but it'll get really wobbly over time. And so by putting a little bit of glue in there first makes it really a lot more stable, because it really it glues a bunch of the pellets to here, and that will make it last longer, or just give it a lot more stability. So I'm just gonna kind of fold that a little bit and hope for the best. We just want to make sure our dirt's already on here, because you can't put it on afterwards. So I'm just gonna glue a big glob of glue on here. And then jam it right in there. So you can kind of see, don't want to spill all the pellets, but you can kind of see I just jammed it in the middle and all the way to the bottom. And I think all I'm going to do with these pellets is I'm just going to tie a piece of yarn around the stem, because that will do it too. All I want to do is keep the pellets from falling back out. So all I need to do is close it. So I'm just going to tie a knot around here. There. So you can see now the pellets can't slide out of the nylon. Plus, I can cut off a lot extra of the nylon that normally I would have to jam in there. All right, so I'm just going to go through and cut some more of this off. All right. And fortunately, this is stretchy, so I can just take it off around it. Except I probably should have taken it the other way because now my yarn is trapped in it. But I think I can get my little thing of yarn out of it. Except I went the wrong way. All right, yarn goes there and through the loop and then back through the loop that way. All right. Yay, freedom. Okay. And then I can cut out the extra tails of the pink because I don't really need a lot there. Just enough to hold the pellets in. And now I can unplug the glue gun. I'm finished with that for now. Then it's safer for the kitty cat if she comes back. All right. So we have our heart. We have our stem. We have our dirt layer. We have our pellets inside, tied in a little nylon bag. You can see it's just weighted, kind of fun. So now we can push our dirt down to the ground level. And so then we'll crochet that together as we go around, and that will make that very sealed and our flower very stable. So see, it's very stable. It's not going to tip over as easy. Okay, so this next row, I'm going to put the lid on my pellets because I'm clumsy and I don't need pellets everywhere. And then, so we followed the instructions to cut the nylon in half and fill it with the pellets. And we didn't use a needle and thread. We just tied a string around it, which was just as good. So before closing it up, we put a ball of hot glue on the stem and shoved it into the pellets while it was still hot. Okay, so on the instructions, I didn't put the heart on yet. I had just done the stem, so then you could slide the dirt down over it. But that's okay. It works fine this way too. So then what we want to do is continuing around the flower pot. Hi, Quinn. Hi. Hi. You are a silly kitty. She never lets me pet her. Well, rarely. And she doesn't usually want to snuggle unless I'm on Twitch. And then she's like, hi, I want to be, it's my show, right? All right, so now we're going to work with the flower pot and the dirt layer at the same time. So what we're going to do is, I think we're working through are we doing both layers? Yes. Sometimes I'll do just the front layer, like of the dirt, but that's okay. Okay, Quinn, the glue gun's still a little warm, so let's not sit on it. We have Catzilla invading now. Do you want me to clear you a spot? Lay down. Lay down or get off. You can choose. All right, we have company. All right, so let's see if we can still make room. So we're working through the 2 stitches on the pot and the 2 stitches on the dirt, and we're just going to keep our stitches nice and snug. If our stitches are a little loose, you might see a little bit of the brown through there. Don't knock that off. All right, so 2 layers of, and so we're just single crocheting around. Are you going to move? Hi. I'm just watching the glue gun to make sure you don't stick yourself to it. Come on. I think she's begging for cat treats again. That's what happens when Hack Shack sends her treats with channel points. Don't swipe at me. Okay, now we're back in business. Okay, let's see if we can finish this up by the time we get to the 2-hour mark. Okay, so for each stitch around, we go through 2 layers of the dirt of the pot and the 2 layers of the dirt and work our single crochet. 2 layers, 2 layers. You just got to pay a little attention is all. It's not really hard. It's just through that, and I'm still doing yarn unders on these. It does keep them a lot tighter, and you don't see stuffing through, and it also just makes the stitches just a little shorter, so it makes something like this, it hides the brown layer so the brown doesn't show through there. All right. All right. So I don't know if you guys can hear it, but I'm really hooked on this Bridgerton music. I kind of love that it's popular songs, but done by string quartets and stuff. It's just, I don't know. I find it soothing, so it's not too many words while I'm trying to talk. Because some songs get a little too distracting while I'm trying to explain things. So this is about the only awkward part of the pattern, is just kind of holding all this while you're assembling it. But I really do like it as opposed to sewing together a million little pieces. And these weighted pellets can be really kind of pricey, but if you watch for sales, they do go on sales a couple of times a year. I know Michael's does 40% off an item a lot of times. And I usually wait until something like that to pick up my stuffing boxes and weighted beads, things that are a little pricier, but when you can buy it in bulk and use a coupon, it usually brings the price way down. And I end up sharing a lot of my supplies with my crafting group, and I teach new folks to crochet at my social crafting meetups and stuff and crochet guilds. So I'm always very conscious of cost because I want to be able to be generous and give stuff away. But if I pay too much for it, it makes that a little more complicated. I'm glad you like it. Hi, Simply Pickles. Thanks for saying hello. We're working on a crochet flower pot. So there's been a lot of fun little techniques here, from the way we attach the parts of the amigurumi, and then we're attaching the dirt to the flower pot. So the pattern is free up on my Patreon. It should be pinned to the top of the channel, of the feed, the chat. So you guys can go grab a copy, and feel free to reach out if you have questions. Just because we did it on this stream, if you do it afterwards and need any help with it, I'm trying to stream a couple of times a week. And I love teaching crochet and just more advanced techniques to existing crocheters too. Oops, I'm going to hide that brown thread in there because I don't like weaving in ends. So let's just... Well, I think I might have to use the needle to do it because I forgot there's pellets in there. It's not easy just to shove it in like it is with stuffing. There. I still pulled some of the nylons out through there. Okay, so we got a couple more stitches and then just the rim of the flower pot, and we are getting there. So, what are some projects you guys are working on, or are there patterns you'd like me to make? I am working on making a book of Dungeons and Dragons monsters right now. But I would love ideas for things you guys would like to see, because I think that's the one advantage to Twitch, is I get to get real feedback as to what people would like in patterns. So, and I really like making patterns. I've been crocheting for 52 years now, so just a little bit of time. All right, so we are back around, and you can kind of see that our dirt is all crocheted in, but that kind of looks a little chunky around the top yet, so we're going to clean that up a little bit. So now we're going to single crochet around straight, and then we're going to add a little lip, which is going to make it look a lot more flower potty. Yeah, sorry, I changed it to be more consistent with everywhere else, so sorry about that. I will update my link. I thought I'd updated it everywhere, and I missed one. All right, so we're just gonna, if I can find my first stitch there. All right, so we're just gonna do 32 single crochets around this one, and then we'll turn. And I should have quite a few free patterns up on my Patreon now. I'm trying to put at least one a month of the free ones and as well as my premium ones. And if you'd like, even the premium ones, if you would like to test it for me, I can definitely get you a copy. You don't have to pay for it if you want to test for me. Do 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 do. This music gets stuck in my head though. So you see, as we do this row of single crochet, just around how it really cleans that up, where it starts to look a little better. Oh, the pride bees are so fun. One year I made 100 of them. And I don't usually make crochet to sell. I usually just make patterns or teach classes or whatever. But I made 100 to give away in my free claw machine. And so I had like other little toys and gadgets like pride bandanas rolled up in little tubes. And so I had pride bees, I had pride bandanas, little jewelry and keychains and things. So we just made a lot of little things to give away. And then, but I had 100 bees in there too. And so I was kind of tired of looking at my bees after that, but it was really fun. Now I make pride bee kits to give to sell when we do have a booth. So I do booths with some local teenagers. We formed the Queer Craft Collective so that they could sell stuff at that they make at local craft fairs, because apparently you have to have a business license to be able to sell at a lot of local craft fairs. And so we started that up. So I sell my bee kits there because then they can come to my local crafting events and social crafting and crochet guild, and I'll teach them how to crochet using the bee kits. So it kind of feeds each other. Yes, I do need some more bee emojis. All right, so now you can see our flower pot. We started at 24 and gradually increased to 32, and it's a nice little slope there. We have our dirt inside, nicely attached. We have our heart. So now we're going to do the rim that makes it kind of look like the traditional ceramic flower pots. So in this case, I've slip stitched, and we're going to chain 3, and then I'm going to turn. And the reason I do this is when we fold this lip down, I want it to be the fronts of my double crochets and not the backs. So we're going to work in the back loop, which was the front loop, but it's now the back loop. And we're just going to do a double crochet in the back loop of each of these stitches. So it's not hard. It's just, hi, Quinn. Little Quinn says hi, and don't knock the camera over. She's got a little piggy tail, a little bent tail, and so she catches it on my camera rig, which is not attached to the desk. You can go lay down. You'll get treats when the chat gives you treats. Hack Shack already gave you treats. Go lay down. Yep, she's Catzilla. She doesn't like me, doesn't like to snuggle or pets unless I'm on stream, and then she's my best friend apparently. So you can see as we go around and do our double crochets here, it makes just our little fold down rim that looks more like a traditional flower pot. And then we are almost done. We will attach our little leaves and we will have our no-sew heart flower pot done. Great for Valentine's Day gifts or just something to remind yourself that somebody in the world cares about you. Because I do. And I just love that crochet is coming back. Seems like during COVID, it really saw a resurgence. And it's just great having a lot of teenagers and young adults doing it now. And so I've really enjoyed seeing that. Because when I was a kid, it would get you beat up. Although one time there was this kid on the bus wanted me to teach him how to crochet. And looking back, I think he might have been flirting with me, but I was always a tad oblivious. All right. Almost there. And the only part that really requires any sewing is where we sewed the hole on the heart around the stem, and we will weave in the ends on the leaves after we tie them on. And I like that we just tie them on. We could add a little dollop of hot glue too if we wanted. And again, the only hard part on this really is when you're attaching the dirt, and even this part, it's just a little awkward with this whole stem sticking out. It's very unbalanced, so it's just a little awkward. Takes a little longer. Maybe that'll oh, sorry about that. Yeah, it should be at least 12 or 14 point, but on some of these patterns I tried to get them down to as few pages as possible because I print them out and give them away, and in some places when I have events, and so I tried keeping it to 1 page. Although this one might be a 4 page, I don't remember. But it's also tricky to get enough photos in there, so. But yes, I have very old eyes, and I love having it when I create them in Canva, and I can zoom in on them anywhere I want. So I can make them super big. So I might start doing a crochet along for each of my patterns, like even my premium patterns when I release them. We might have a release party where we crochet those. So let me know what you guys think of that, or if there's something you'd like me to start crocheting live, because I'm working on my studio downstairs. I have a whole 2-car garage for my studio. It just got a little messy, and so I'm working on that. And so once I get it cleaned up, we'll be able to have 3D printers and 3D printers and my Cricut and the sublimation machines and all of that, so we can do a lot of different crafts. And you see now that we have our little rim, and then I push it up a little bit because I like that dirt to be not quite so prominent. You can kind of see you can adjust that just to where you want it. And there we go. Nice weighted flower pot that doesn't tip over as easy as I make it seem. But I like that, you know, if you had this on a normal one without the weights, it would be very topsy. So I'm just going to weave in this end, because if I don't weave it in here, oh, if I don't weave it in live, it will not happen. Oh, I'm glad you like it. I've taught it as one class, but I just had to do it in several parts because it took more than a couple of hours to teach live, because I have to wait for I crochet super fast, which is good and bad, I guess. But for a class, I just would end up getting them started and then having them come back in a week or two, and we'd finish it up. And that just wasn't as ideal. So I'm really looking forward to doing more of this kind of stuff on stream. All right, and so the reason I waited to do the leaves till after I'd assembled it is one of the ones I did, I put the flowers, it just looked awkward. It was a little too high or low. I don't remember. I think it was too low. So I think I'm going to put these just a little below the halfway point. So basically, because of the longer tails on these, I can just tie it on. And the first one doesn't really matter. I just want to make sure it's nice and tight. Then the second one, I want to put the leaf over the knot for the first one, which is hard to show this on stream, but I'm going above the knot, and then I'm tying the knot under the leaf on the second one. Basically, it's just going to make sure that the knots are under the leaves, so they just hide them better. Okay, so under there. And I'm going to leave the long tails because we'll weave them in a minute, and that will actually add stability too. So my leaf is over the knot on the other side. You can kind of see from the side. I'm just making sure the knots are all under the leaves. I'm just tying them on with just a square knot. So now I will take my needle, and what I'll do here too is I will weave the yarn in on the opposite leaf, and I just take it down the center of the leaf, kind of just through the stitches. but it gives a little more rigidity to the leaf too, which helps it stand up a little bit. Because the only leaves you don't want to do is something too big that it's kind of delicate and won't hold its shape. You'll see why in a minute. And then I take this one, I'm just going to take it down the other side of the leaf. All right. So see those two threads got woven into that leaf. And then I will rotate it over and do the same thing on this side. But so you can see our knot under here. And you can even put a dollop of hot glue, but I just worry that that would show. So you could even put craft glue or something like a tacky glue or something if you wanted to make sure that that it didn't slip down. But it really doesn't slip because we have the yarn on the stem too that is kind of holding it in place. All right, and then we take our last one and we go through the other side of this leaf. And again, it doesn't add a lot, but it just, that little bit of rigidity along the center of that leaf helps it hold its shape a lot better. All right. Now, oh, should have lined them up with the leaf, but you can still rotate them because they're not attached. And there's our little, and so you can't really see the knots underneath, but the leaves kind of stick up and do their little thing. And we have a flower pot. So what do you guys think? Any questions, comments, concerns? And so on my stream, I know I teased you guys here with the jester hat. I will do that on probably a stream coming up soon. This is one I did recently with it basically starts out like a hexa cardigan. And then once you get to about row 7 or 8, you split its little tassels off. But it turned out super cute. And I'll have a free pattern. Might be a free pattern. I'm still deciding. Will be up on my Patreon in a week or so. I'm still working on it. But I also had one we started on stream last time. So in this color, we put little hearts, little stars on the end instead of bells. So yeah, so let me know what you guys would like to see more of. Oops. My phone thinks it's lunchtime. Anyway, so thanks for joining. It looks like we came in right at 2 hours on that, which surprises me because literally it's taken me 4 hours to teach as a class. But yeah, let me know what you'd like to see more of. If subscribers, we've been making little potion bottles each time somebody subscribes, and we have a raid banner that they get to choose colors for the raid banner. So we'll have some fun things on the stream coming up, and we'll see how that goes. Normally I stream at 6 p.m. on Tuesdays Pacific and 10 o'clock on Sundays Pacific time. Next Sunday we'll see if I can, next Tuesdays are for sure. We'll probably work on the jester hat. Next Sunday I'm having eye surgery on Thursday, so we'll see how I feel on Sunday if I'm up for it or not. But yeah, hopefully we'll see you back soon, and thank you so much for joining, and feel free to share anything you make. My Discord should be linked at the top. And yeah, I'm just getting rolling on this channel, and I'm really looking forward to whatever I can bring for you guys. So thanks so much for joining me this Sunday morning. You guys have a great weekend. I'll see you soon.